Chris and Marcy, so Sky 2 is just arriving overhead in Whittier right now. This is the 10,000 block of Mills Avenue. We are hearing reports now that there have been as many as 10 people hit by a vehicle here. CHP and LA sheriffs from the Norwalk station are telling us that they may be involved some way as trainees or recruits from the Sheriff's Academy. Now, this is the scene unfolding right now. They are setting a triage station up right here. There are multiple agencies working on this. We are also hearing that many of these people that have been hit by this vehicle are very seriously injured. CHP is coordinating with Los Angeles County Fire to take many of these injured down to UCI on the 5 freeway. They are setting up a convoy. They are going to be closing lanes of the 5 freeway to get these injured down there. We have moved Mobile 2 to this scene also. This is a very chaotic scene. I've been listening to this on the radio, and my colleagues Esteban and Annette on the assignment desk have been calling Los Angeles sheriffs to get more information. As of right now, this is unfolding. The other thing that I can tell you is that they say that the vehicle that apparently hit these people on the street has stayed on scene. They briefly gave a license plate, so I know that that vehicle is there. No information yet on anyone being detained yet for this, but at least at this point, it is not a hit and run. Chris and Marcy?
So hard to see. You know, hearing 10 to 15 victims, possibly LA County Sheriff recruits. Obviously, when they're recruits and it's this early in the morning, oftentimes there's some sort of physical activity that's going on. Do we know, Mark, if there's any type of exercise or what they were doing all in this area?
Yeah, well, Chris, we are initially hearing that these were described as runners. They are saying both of the CHP and on the sheriff's radios, they're describing them as runners from the Sheriff's Academy. Now, I was looking on the map. I don't think that there is a Sheriff's Academy near here. The LA County station, Fire Station 96, is literally right around the corner from here. These firefighters from Station 96 probably arrived immediately. There you can see, I think this is the vehicle in the center of the screen that's probably the cause of all of this. It looks like it went up on the sidewalk and knocked over that pole. You can see all kinds of medical equipment around it. That's probably where many of the patients were being initially treated. Now, I did see on a map search that there is some sort of sheriff's office near here in a strip mall, but it doesn't look like an academy to me, so I'm entirely not sure where, if these were academy recruits, where they were running from, or where their headquarters were, where they started their morning run from. But that is what they are being described as at this point, is runners from the Sheriff's Academy.
Well, and you can see the scene is spread out quite a bit.
Yeah.
It looks like some of these people may have been hit a bit far apart from one another, which tells you that maybe this car was traveling for some time before they were finally able to get it to stop. Do we know how the vehicle came to a stop? Are you able to get a better look?
It looks like that's a pole of some sort that maybe stopped it.
Yeah, you know, the initial reports on scene, you know, the deputy that was calling this out on the radio that they needed response seemed to be very focused on getting medical attention to the people that were hit. They did not initially discuss how this had happened, although I did hear the dispatcher ask that deputy, units on scene, did the vehicle stay on scene? And someone on the radio did say, yes, the vehicle is here. I believe that is the vehicle in the center of your screen. That is the vehicle that they are talking about. I don't have any information about that driver, whether or not they were detained or what the situation was with that. But this at this point does not appear to be a hit and run.
Yeah, and it could be one of those situations. I mean, if it was, you know, maybe the driver, the car wouldn't continue to go forward or continue to move from there. But you got to hope that this wasn't something that's intentional.
Yeah, and possibly a medical emergency or something along those lines. It does, right?
But I mean, the fact that 10 to 15 people hit by this one car is just alarming, and you know, it's frightful. And Marcy, you said it best, how spread out this scene is. I mean, it almost looks like there's pieces of clothing throughout the whole street. I mean, just think of just the terror of the people who witnessed this and the ones who were injured. And you know, you got to hope that everyone is okay.
Right, and you see, it looks like they're possibly treating some more of the victims there at the scene as well. We know a number of them, as you mentioned, rushed to UCI on the 5, and so you mentioned those closures as well as they're doing this convoy to treat some of them, but it seems like some of the people who were hit may be being treated there at the scene as well, right, Mark?
Yeah, so I was actually just going to mention that. I am hearing them talk about not all of the people that were hit in this accident are critical and going to UCI. They are actually holding some of these patients to be treated on scene, and then I heard some of them are actually going in a less serious state to St. Francis Medical Center, and then some do not require transport at all, so that is good news. I think what we're looking at also on the left side of your screen, that group of people in black shirts over there, those look to me briefly like they may have been more people from the academy. They were all sort of in a uniform that looked like physical, like PT clothes, like physical training clothes.
Yeah.
That may have been, we're going to try and direct Sky 2 to look over there and get a look at that group as well. But yeah, you're right, Marcy, not everyone here is critical going to UCI. There are several at least, and they are closing the 5 freeway for those transports.
Yeah, just an awful scene to see. This is going on in Whittier. If you're just joining us right now, this is breaking news. We just started covering within the last 5 to 10 minutes, 10 to 15 people hit by a vehicle, possibly recruits, and at this point, still an active scene. You could see paramedics out there helping some of the victims, but you know, the fact that there's all this debris across the area just shows how large of a scene this is.
And you can see they just put another person onto a gurney right there, carry them over from the scene. We saw that they were treating that victim there on the scene, now putting them on a gurney. We see that there are ambulances there waiting in the area, and so possibly another victim being transported now.
Yeah, and you could just see the damage of that vehicle. To think that that vehicle, the driver hit 10 to 15 people, makes you wonder what happened. But, you know, obviously the driver stayed on scene. And, you know, as Marcy said, it could have been a medical emergency. That's something we see often, especially when it comes to situations like this. And is that another?
Yeah,
they're working on someone else, right?
Right.
And
It looks like they're getting the gurney ready to possibly put another patient onto that. They have another gurney there on standby. We know there are a number of ambulances there. And, as Mark mentioned, you can see a group of people right there on the left.
Yeah, all the recruits.
And all dressed similarly. So this is believed to have been some kind of a training thing where they were out for a morning run, possibly when they were hit by this vehicle. They're zooming in now on one of those patients being moved towards an ambulance. Again, we don't know the full extent of all of the injuries of these 10 to 15 people, but as Mark mentioned, we do know that some of them have been very seriously injured and are being taken to UCI. Mark, do we know anything else about this convoy that's taking these patients to UCI and the impact on traffic along the 5?
Well, I do know that CHP is coordinating both with Orange County and with Los Angeles Sheriffs in Norwalk to close the freeway to get those ambulances down to UCI. They did say that it was going to be a convoy and that, you know, hopefully it doesn't impact traffic that much, but they do need to get these most critically injured to the hospital as soon as possible. They made a decision on scene to do it via ambulance and not by air rescue, which, you know, could be a variety of factors of why they wanted to do that. I actually have some information I want to show you. If we can come out to my computer screen, I can show you exactly where this is happening. You know, as I said, there is a fire station very close to where this was. This on the right side of your screen, this right here where I'm circling with my mouse, this is the intersection. You can see these houses as kind of where it happened. And then right here, you can see that's where the fire station is. So I know that the firefighters from Station 96 responded very quickly. Now, a quick Google search also lead me to believe that something in this strip mall here is associated with the Los Angeles Sheriffs. They say they have an office there. That might be where these recruits perhaps met and were running from. I have directed my colleagues at the assignment desk to try and get on the phone with the Los Angeles Sheriffs from the Norwalk station to get an idea of what that was. But as you can imagine, Chris and Marcy, they are very busy right now handling their officers, their deputies, and coordinating with Los Angeles County Fire to get these people to the hospital.
Yeah, so hard to see, and you know, we are working on getting more information as to how these other victims are doing that were taken to the hospital. But this is a very large scene, and there's definitely a lot of witnesses that are nearby. We had some close shots seeing some of potentially the other recruits that are out there, and usually when they're training, they usually start their runs early in the morning. Not sure exactly what happened, but I mean, if you look at that car, that is the car that potentially allegedly hit all those people, and it looks like they're still on the sidewalk. So I mean, if they did have a medical emergency and you have all those recruits running on the sidewalk in a single file line, I mean, you can only imagine just how that looks and how that could be. And you know, we don't have a lot of information as to how the victims are doing, but we just hope that they're doing okay, but an awful scene to see out of Whittier.
Well, and the fact that the vehicle appears to have hit a pole and knocked it down, it seems to say something about the speed it was possibly going. If it was moving really slowly,
Yeah.
perhaps wouldn't have been enough force to bring down that pole. So that speaks to the speed and why we're seeing possibly the number of injuries that we are seeing here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that pole literally knocked down. We don't know anything about this driver. We don't know if it was a medical emergency. We don't know if it was someone who was under the influence or potentially a hit or run. So we're still working to hear about that. But we want to go to retired PO from LA City Fire, Rick Godinez. He joins us now on the phone. Rick, can you hear us this morning?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have you heard anything about this incident and what the latest is?
Well, yeah, I've been watching for the last couple of minutes, and it looks like obviously the folks on the ground, the firefighters and first responders, are going into their multi-casualty incident command system where they're quickly triaging all the victims, and that becomes part of the hardest task is obviously finding every victim on the ground, whether they're in the vehicles, whether they were ejected, whether they were thrown, and then categorizing them, triaging them into the minor, intermediate, delayed categories. And what helps them are those tarps that you see.
And Rick, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just want to tell you we're going to end our coverage here on CBS 2, but you can watch us on KCAL 9. We're also streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. Our coverage will continue there.